going? We're going. All right.
We're live.
Yeah, we are live. This is the first or second, depending on how we want to do this, episode of Riffs and Reels. My name is Adam Legwater. Here we have
Levi Smith.
Nick Brown.
And I'm Noel Eggwater.
What's up?
Kind of sounded like I said Noel Eggwater.
Noel Eggwater.
No egg water.
No
There
more
is no
egg
egg
water.
water allowed
No,
on this
wow.
podcast.
Yeah.
Leg
And
water?
again, we all have the exact same voice, so good luck.
Might be able to discern Nick
I
a little
think
bit
we
better.
can figure
Yeah, I
it
think I'm a
out.
little bit
Yeah,
different.
goodness,
too.
It's not too
Yeah.
bad.
I think it sits nice in the mix.
Yeah.
You got a
Yeah,
you got a
yeah.
beautiful voice.
We got a nice harmony going on.
Yeah.
So
Sure do.
I feel like in our first one, well, I don't feel like it's actually factual. We got about 10 minutes into it talking about reels, but I don't know, maybe you want to hop on the subject of
Well,
riffs this time around?
what were we
See how that
talking
goes
about right before we?
Yeah,
We're
catch
talking
me
about
up.
getting high and listening to Pink Floyd.
we
Yeah,
were talking
so
exactly
that
about
tells-
getting
that tells
high.
us something.
I've been there.
Yeah.
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 I've
Yeah.
dabbled.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I guess the subject we were on right before was, I don't know, the critical Pink Floyd album. Maybe not even the best like high album, but just the pinnacle of the Pink Floyd experience.
What is?
We're saying I think it's widely accepted that maybe it's either Animals or
I mean, I would say
Dark
like the
Side.
popular opinion is probably Dark Side.
Yeah.
My opinion is
I'd
Dark
say
Side.
Dark Side or Wish You Were Here is probably like the popular
Yeah,
opinion.
the
Yeah.
popular opinion for sure.
My answer changes depending on if I'm sober, if I'm high. At least for
Yeah.
me.
And if I'm drunk too,
Yeah,
man. Like
if
if I'm
I'm-
drunk, it's the wall.
All right,
Yeah.
well, what's the high opinion right now?
The high is the Dark Side of the Moon for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just something about it, man.
Do you mean like high, like if you're high in general, or if you're listening to it while you're high?
If I'm listening to it while I'm
Okay.
high,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
That's the only one I've listened to while high, but I never liked Pink Floyd until I listened to it when I was high,
Yeah.
and then I like
feel like
I
That
feel
was
like it's
my
a pretty
introduction
cliche,
as
yeah.
well.
You
I
get
did,
it,
click.
I
kinda,
did
yeah.
Dark Side of Oz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there you
So-
go.
Yeah, I remember trying to check that out. It lines up really well. It didn't line up as much as I had hoped it would.
As much
but
as
still
people
pretty
explain
good.
it to, yeah.
At certain points, it doesn't line up very well, and then at like key points, it will line up
It's
really
almost
well.
like free jazz.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Suppose
guess.
we-
In a way, yeah.
In a way.
But it's been a long time since I watched it. I remember there being points where I was like, "This is uncanny."
Mhm.
Just
It is pretty trippy. Like when she first kind of starts going down the rabbit hole. Is it during the what's that fucking song? It's like,
speak
On
to
the
me on the
Run?
run.
yeah,
Yeah.
on the run. Yeah,
On the
when
run.
she's like,
yeah.
she's like falling through the hole. I think it's like
It is.
That lines up pretty damn nice,
Mhm.
actually.
Yeah.
But-
Mhm.
Or was it, is the song Money when the Munchkins come out?
I think so. I know when she first walks out the door.
I was just yeah.
Into Oz. I
Mhm.
believe the time is starting. So you just have all the clocks going, and
Yeah.
she's just like looking around, like all confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those
I guess we
eerie
should
clocks.
probably we should explain what Dark Side of Oz is if there's people who don't know, because
That's
be
true. Yeah.
confusing. So, yeah, Dark Side of Oz is basically if you start the Wizard of Oz at the exact perfect moment. It's like after the lion roars or something in the beginning of the film with Dark Side of the Moon. They're supposed to line up perfectly, except for the. I don't know. I don't think I got all the way through it because the album length isn't the same as the film.
It's
length.
half
Not
the
quite.
length of the
yeah.
movie.
I was
Start
just
it
gonna
over.
say, have you
So
guys
it's
actually
been
ever
split.
done that?
He
Yeah,
has.
that's what
Yeah,
I was
got-
I have too.
That was
I
my
got, like, 20
introduction
minutes
really
in.
to Pink Floyd. Like
Yeah.
I had heard songs before, and I was like, oh, they're like a dad rock
Yep.
band.
Yeah.
And then for my buddy Sean's birthday, he was a huge stoner. We all got together, piled in this
Yep.
apartment, like 8 guys, got super stoned, and threw on Dark Side of Oz.
Yeah.
So we want to do it for his birthday. And
Yeah.
I remember the album just blew me away.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
mine was pretty much the same thing. My buddy Dan, like he
Oh.
told us so long that like it lines up perfectly with the movie.
Mm.
And I had never listened to the album at that point, and that was the first time. Like, holy shit! Like, this is incredible. I immediately went home, smoked, and listened to the whole album.
Mhm.
I also
on
wasn't
my
high
own.
when I did it, so that could have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does
my-
change.
It
the
definitely
story quite
changes
a bit,
because I've heard
yeah.
it sober too, and it's
Yeah.
so
Because then those
great.
moments where it does line up are just that
Yeah.
much more just
So-
mind blowing.
yes.
Yeah.
I
Almost
want to know
like
I want to meet the guy who found that out, like who discovered
Yeah,
that.
I know it's been a thing for a long time, but I remember hearing about
Yeah.
it growing up. I
Yeah.
remember in like middle school. and
The
hearing
legend.
about
I
it.
feel like-
yeah.
I almost feel like it can't be attributed to one guy. It has to just be some sort of like a cult hive mind.
Yeah, one of those just communal things, yeah.
Yeah.
That discovered it.
Yeah.
Some sort of strange Pink Floyd Wizard of Oz fan club.
But that is, I mean, for me, either Dark Side or Wish You Were Here or Animals are the go-to Pink Floyd albums.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know that I can really
For
pick
me, like I just like, because like my introduction was The Wall to to Pink Floyd, just because our dad, like doing road trips and all the time, would always throw on The Wall if we ever did a road trip. And so like I remember, like obviously like Another Brick in the Wall Part 2 was always like the one that stood out from that album, and then just going through and like, oh, Pink Floyd's kind of dope. Just reviewing that, and then going from that to like Dark Side became obviously, and that's like stereotypical, but obviously became quintessential because it's obviously so fucking good. But Animals has been like Animals and Wish You Were Here has been like my go-tos lately, especially Wish You Were Here because they actually just released a live recording from like the 70s of Wish You Were Here on Spotify.
Really?
And it's really, really good. It's actually Shine On You Crazy Diamonds part. Like it's all of Shine On You Crazy
song
Diamond.
names ever.
Yeah.
Does it
Like,
have
you
the
could
rest
use-
of the album there? Or
No, so it's just Shine On You Crazy Diamond.
okay.
So it's all like parts 1 through, what is it, 12 or whatever of Shine On You Crazy Diamond.
Yeah.
All in a row, live rendition, which is pretty cool. So they drop like Wish You Were Here and is it The Machine?
Yep. Welcome to the Machine.
Welcome to the Machine.
And Have a Cigar.
And Have a Cigar, yeah. So I think they dropped those 3 tracks.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Way off topic, but we were on the subject of "Born in the USA" by Bruce Springsteen the other day.
Yeah,
And,
that came up
dude,
over here yesterday.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
I saw this article that was basically from some conservative website that was like, here are the reasons that you should actually not listen to "Born in the USA" by Bruce Springsteen at your July 4th cookout. Which is funny because the album came out 36 years ago, and it's surprising that people haven't realized that it's actually sort of it's a very American song, very anti-government.
Anti-government.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's this entire song about like basically the Vietnam War and getting sent overseas to kill this basically unknown enemy, and then coming back and the VA has nothing that they can give you. And now you're working in a refinery with this like war injury, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I was born in the USA.
And as far as I understand, the point is like the whole reason he was in this situation, all this happened is just because he happened to be born in the USA. Like it's just circumstance and my geography.
Yeah,
like,
it's just talks about like his first hard knock or something like that. Is just like on the streets where he grew up or something. So it's really funny that it's like I think it is like 36 years ago that album came out, and it's just now all of a sudden people are like, wait. That's not about fucking the it's not about America, fuck yeah.
It's not.
Took him that
America.
long, yeah.
Which I thought I thought was pretty funny because the first time I listened to it, I mean it's pretty obviously, like I said, it's pro-American. It's about being like, I think it has some sort of American pride, at least throughout like the theme of the album. But that song is very much like, yeah, there's some real hardships that come with being born in the USA.
Right.
But anyway, I spent some good hours listening to that album over the past week.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good fucking album.
Is it?
Dude.
Yeah, there's some good
I haven't
tracks
really
in there.
checked it out.
Yeah.
No.
It's definitely in the vein of just being, like I said, I think Bruce Springsteen, you used the word quintessential, but Bruce Springsteen is like the quintessential heart of American music in a lot of ways. I mean, I think he sits there pretty well with other popular folk artists, but like him and Tom Petty, it's like, it is kind of the voice of the Americans.
Like the heartland, yeah.
He gets thrown into the category of just like classic dad rock, and people like sometimes I think don't appreciate that for what it is. Like, honestly, I totally.
I mean, Pink Floyd is like classic dad rock.
A lot
It
of
is.
dad rock
Yeah.
is really good.
It's classic,
Yeah.
really
man.
good.
Yeah.
I mean, Led Zeppelin too.
Led Zeppelin.
But I haven't listened to them nearly as much as I should, probably.
Van
but
Halen.
Yeah.
Van Halen's got some great
Yeah.
tracks. Those
I
guys
know
are
you fuck with Van Halen.
Oh,
I think you talked about
as
it
much as they are like the typical '80s hard rock.
Mhm.
Those guys are wildly talented.
Yeah.
I mean, like the drum intro to "Hot for Teacher"
Yeah.
is insane, dude.
Yeah.
It's an insane drum intro.
I love how you're pulling off these roaches right now.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just casually,
two of
you know.
Putting them
Hop
down.
into another one.
Putting them
I
down.
wasn't kidding. Man.
I really hope the microphone just picked up me peeing
in
and
there,
farting in the
just do that.
background.
Probably not.
Yeah, I wonder how we're gonna go about like taking breaks throughout this podcast.
No, we're just gonna keep all.
I don't know
in.
what regular podcast etiquette is, but fuck it, we're gonna make our own, I guess.
Yeah, no, we're
I was
keeping
thinking it would be
everything
kind
in,
of cool.
dude,
It's like
start to
it's just
It's
recorded.
natural.
People go in and out.
We're just
It's
open.
yeah.
Like, yeah, you just went to go take a piss. Like,
yeah,
you
Yeah.
know,
this is what it's like
Yeah.
to spend an hour or however long on, under the
sitting
pergola.
under the
Under the
pergola
pergola,
outside
dude.
The
smoking
guys,
cigs.
yeah, that's what it's like to just hang out.
Yeah.
Did anybody else listen to anything maybe new to them in the past week or two?
Let me look at the old.
Not like new. I've just been on
Spotify.
the Elton John.
Yeah,
kick,
maybe
man.
not necessarily like a new release, but just
Yeah.
I guess I did listen to a couple Elton John albums
Yeah.
that were really good. Honky Should Tell, which has Rockin'
So
Man
good,
on it.
man.
What are we
Yeah,
talking
so
about that?
good.
There's a lot of good songs. Madman Across the Water,
Also
which
so
you were
good.
telling me about
Yeah,
that. That was
Levon
great.
And
So
Tiny
Leave On, All the
Dancer.
Nasties is really good.
yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff on
Isn't
there.
Honky Chateau, I think I'm going to kill myself.
This guy,
From
I'm gonna kill myself.
From Honky Chateau.
Yeah, that's a funny song.
Yeah.
There was something else.
Yeah,
new I
think
was
about
listening
killing
to.
yourself.
Oh, I've already
Great
been
time.
a
Yeah,
big
it's-
Bill Withers fan, but Bill Withers live at Carnegie Hall
Yeah,
is
Dude,
so good.
incredible.
So good.
Like a lot of his best songs, and the crowd interaction is so good. And he does a lot of these intermissions, even like during a
Grandma's
song.
Hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, the intro to Grandma's Hand, talking
my
about all these
God.
memories of his grandma and like
Yeah.
growing up in this,
In the
this
church.
black church,
Yeah.
with a real gospel infused.
Yeah.
Really funny. And then at one point during the first song, they take this intermission towards the end, and he's introducing the band. And I think it's the first song at least. But he's introducing everyone. He's like, on bass we got Cool Quiet Melvin. And Melvin's so quiet. He said 8 words last year, and 6 of them were airport. And he's got a lot of like banter with the crowd that's just really funny.
Yeah.
makes you wonder what the other two were.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Cool, quiet Melvin.
Cool,
Cool,
quiet.
quiet
He's
Melvin.
so
Yeah.
quiet.
Classic Melvin.
Yeah.
So is Bill? I don't know a lot about Bill Withers, but is it like Americana, or is it folky, or like
You know, Lean on Me.
is Bill Withers?
That's Bill
That's
Withers.
Bill Withers.
Lean on Me and Ain't No Sunshine.
Yeah.
Okay, well, easy
Oh,
enough.
Bill
There we go.
Withers.
Got it.
You got me into him, Levi, during this
Soulful
quarantine.
soul.
Like,
Really?
I obviously always heard those 2 songs, but like I never actually really listened to him. And like outside of those 2, I didn't even know that was him who was singing them. Growing
Yeah.
up on those songs, and I listened to I think Justments. Is that
Yeah,
one of his
that's a
albums?
really good album.
That
It's
was
got
the
like
one.
Ruby Lee on it.
Yes.
Is a great song.
Heartbreak Road. I loved. Like I
Heartbreak
just
Road's good.
I
think
really
it's-
got into
It's
it.
got. I think that album starts with You.
Yeah,
which is
it
really
does.
good.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it does.
Yeah, Bill's a little angry on that song.
He's very different from his other shit too.
Yeah, it's a little bit like the rhythms are a little more aggressive.
Yeah.
A little more energy.
Yeah, you got me into him.
Dude, it's funny because
I'm glad I did, man.
Yeah,
Bill
yeah.
Withers is that's
So
my
good.
man.
I've
man.
listened to more Bill Withers and Johnny Cash to this quarantine than I ever
Yeah,
have
tell
in my
you what,
entire
man.
life.
Johnny Cash,
Live
too.
at Folsom
Let me tell you
Yeah.
a thing about Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think we were all on that kick
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
I was on the
Absolutely.
Johnny
I
Cash
heard
kick
Glass
for a
Water.
while, dude.
Yeah.
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 I still haven't really left the kick. It's maybe just I'm not listening to as much Johnny and more. Like I said,
Right.
It was like
Took a-
once a day for me listening to that live at Folsom.
It was
Yeah,
out here
man.
too, especially building this fucking thing.
Yeah,
We listened
building
to
the
that.
pergola, dude.
Good
The
on.
Time-
pergola
multiple times over.
was erected because of Johnny.
Yes.
Cash.
Yeah, it fueled us.
He's the inspiration.
Like everyone I knew was into that
Yeah.
album for a
That
while.
album
Yeah.
is
it's
just
just fucking so good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
And the fact that they filmed it at a prison live, like
Yeah.
people take that like that wouldn't happen nowadays.
Yeah, you know
And
that
people
they-
take that for granted.
That thing outsold the Beatles.
Yeah,
It was really-
yeah, yep.
Mhm.
I think this is the first time the Beatles had been outsold since they had put out their first like gold
Yeah.
record.
Well, I think it just
Yeah.
means like people
think
want
that
like
Somebody's
things
probably
that
gonna research that, but
yeah, people want things that like feel and sound natural.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's what that is to me. Like it just feels natural because
I know.
it's just him in a prison
yeah.
Really authentic.
playing these songs.
Yeah.
Just super, yeah, exactly, like authentic.
Maybe it's just I'm like getting older, but I feel like I never. Anytime a band put out a live album, I was like, I don't give a shit about it.
yeah.
But
I
now
did that
fucking
too,
love 'em.
yeah.
Yeah,
now
well,
it's like I
I'm
love
guilty
it
of
when
that
it happens.
same thing.
That's
Like
why
that
earlier-
Sumac live was fucking. It's
I haven't
like,
listened to it yet.
It's pretty
Yeah.
great, man. But anyway, yeah, it's like. Well, exactly what I said.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's why earlier this week I'm in the same boat over
Yeah.
the last like year or two. I've gotten more into the live albums,
Mm.
and so that's why I was so excited when I saw that Bill Withers. Like it was really just I was listening to Bill Withers and it came up on shuffle, and it was off that live album, and I was stoked. I was like, I love this. I want to see what he's like live, how he
Yeah.
interacts with the crowd. Like you get much more of a feel for the person themselves, I guess, other than just their music.
Yeah, I
That's
think
like
was part
really,
of Folsom Prison is like you get so much of Johnny's personality in there.
yeah, and that's
it's
what
like
really
he's-
sold me on Johnny
It is,
Cash
too.
was
His
like,
He's
oh,
kind
I
of
love
out-
this guy.
Yeah, he's kind
The
of this
wit about
outlaw.
him.
He's kind of this shit talker. He's got
Yeah.
all this wit.
Yeah,
he's
super
like,
witty.
Yeah.
fucking
Very
hilarious.
personable.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the way he interacts with the crowd, and I think
Yep.
he's like, it really humanizes him in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's like Johnny Cash was always Johnny Cash.
He's
like
a legend.
Yeah, I got always known more of his like mainstream stuff. Obviously, like I Walk the Line, Ring of
Yeah.
Fire, and then like Hurt and
Man
Johnny
Comes
Boy and all that kind of
Around.
shit. But
Yeah.
it's always like Johnny's kind of this big name. Like nobody really, at least I didn't know anything about his personality. He's just got this great voice. But then you put him in in front of a bunch of prisoners, and he's still like just
Yeah.
this very humbled. I mean, I think it's almost, you could say he's more humbled by the experience than maybe the guys in the prison. Like, it's,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can tell it's like an honor for him to be there.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So-
Right.
I thought it
I
was really
really
cool.
like the way he approached the whole thing. Just
I
like
do
the
too.
the songs he chose
And that
to play
specific order.
there for in that
Yeah.
specific order for that crowd.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
it's all very relatable.
I
Like
thought they wrote some of, or he took their stories and
Yeah, I was
sang
just
them
gonna
back
say
to
that.
him.
Isn't
A
it-
prisoner
isn't it
wrote
Greystone
Chapel.
Chapel?
It's
Yeah.
the very last song on the album, and a prisoner wrote that. I wish the guy's name got out somehow, because that's one of my favorite songs on the whole album.
yeah. That
It's
is a
very
good, and
good.
such a good one to end on
It
too
is,
for
it's
that
perfect.
crowd. Yeah, it just wraps
it's
it all
almost got
up.
like a little bit of a gospel type of
It
tone in it
does.
for a
Mhm.
minute. Like
Yeah.
it's great.
What was that Johnny Cash thing like right when he was recording that, where he's like the record label was saying something about
Oh yeah, they're like Johnny, you're a gospel singer. You can't sing to a bunch of murderers and rapists.
Yeah.
And he's like a bunch of Christians aren't gonna want to hear you singing to murderers and rapists. And he goes, well, that don't sound very Christian of them.
exactly, man.
That sounds exactly like
Yeah.
Johnny.
Yeah, that's from the Walk the Line
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
I hope
haven't
that
seen it
line
yet.
I hope that line's not like
Made
just
up.
made up. I
Yeah.
really hope that it's like
That is
It's
real.
Based on, I mean,
verified
from what
thing.
I've heard,
Based
just
on
from
Johnny
what I
Cash,
could
it
see
sounds
him
real.
saying
Oh,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
So,
I could.
so
yeah.
very with the spirit
Very
of
much
Johnny
so.
Cash.
Yeah. Man, a lot of those guys fucking lived hard though. I mean,
He
Johnny.
did for a long time.
Yeah. Hank Williams. The story of
Did
Towns
he too?
Van
I
Zandt.
don't-
I feel like I can't tell it without just looking it up, but
Yeah.
Towns Van Zandt, like there's a reason that man's music was so fucking sad.
I know he had just like a wild battle with alcoholism
Yeah.
like his whole
Yeah.
life, and he just couldn't get away from
yeah,
that.
just kept relapsing and relapsing,
It's
and
just
then
sad. 'Cause, like
Yeah.
I haven't listened.
Painkillers too.
Yeah.
yeah, Hank Williams. There's I think a documentary or like biopic on Hank Williams on
Yeah.
Amazon or something
Probably
like that.
not
I've been meaning
jealous.
to watch, but
Hmm.
Hank is crazy too because Hank, I feel like, grew up in an age that wasn't obviously the same as Johnny's. I feel like when Johnny was putting out music, the older he got, the more progressive society
Yeah,
was
that's
too.
what you want.
But I feel like at the time that
Let it up a
the people
A
just
little
weren't ready to hear the truth about like
Yeah.
Hank Williams' story
Yeah.
because that guy battled with a lot of stuff.
He did.
And all
Yeah.
those guys were popping pills and like, dude, they were
Dude.
living fucking hard.
Yeah, anyone in the limelight like that,
Mhm.
like you got
And you
money,
get it.
and then you're around
Yeah,
all
it's
these other
understandable.
stars.
Yep.
People are
I don't
offering you
blame 'em.
things.
Mhm.
It's comes with the territory.
You have the money to
unfortunately.
fund your addictions and shit. Like,
Yeah.
Right, you got all the money in the
places.
world.
yeah. And the connections too.
Yeah, right. Because I mean, everyone else who's
Yeah.
doing that. You live in that music community. They're all
Yep.
doing drugs.
Yeah.
Mm.
you know?
Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
Do you think some of those like more recent, I don't want to say like the mainstream country guys, but more along the lines of like Coulter Wall or Charlie Crockett? I was wondering if like,
I don't know.
have you ever
Charlie
listened?
I
Crockett.
don't
Oh, you've
either.
never listened to him?
No,
I
you
love-
have,
I
you
love
have
the
to send me
name.
some stuff.
Dude,
If you're
he's
if
sick.
you're saying them in the same sentence as Coulter Wall,
He's sick,
Yeah.
man.
I'm
He's
sold.
much
More
more.
about it.
Yeah, he's much more. I'd say Coulter Wall is much more akin to Johnny Cash, whereas Charlie Crockett is more. What's a good word for it? I don't know. I can't fucking think of what I'm trying to think of. But maybe more along the lines of like a Hank Williams,
Okay.
like a little bit more. I don't want to say
I'm-
accessible, but a little more mainstream maybe than Coulter Wall is. But anyway, my
Like a
question
little
is
bit
like
cleaner. Or...
yeah, a little bit cleaner maybe.
Okay.
It's like I can't fucking think of the what I'm trying to think of. But I wonder if those guys, if we're gonna see them like kind of live the same way, or if in 30 years they're gonna have the same story to tell.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like artists don't live the same way as a lot of those like guys in the 70s did. I mean, some of them do. Like you'll get
Mhm.
like Mac Miller and who's the guy like Little Peep or whatever that
Yeah,
are
he
are
overdosed.
popping up or
That's a
falling
big
flat
thing,
from
like
hills and
the
stuff.
hip hop community, at least like Xanax and painkillers
Yeah.
and codeine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wonder
it
if
feels
those
like
a
the
huge problem, but
I
I
wonder if
don't
those
really know.
country
That's
guys
what- I don't know about like the folk.
If they're currently
Country.
living the same way, like if they
Yeah.
hold that same sort of like idealization.
well,
of-
maybe it feels like it's switched because like I feel like in the '70s the rock stars were the people that played like rock. You know what I mean? Like
I'm just trying to find this fucking word I was thinking of. You keep talking.
just wondering if it's still recording.
No, it
or
is,
not.
yeah.
Okay. I feel like like the '70s, it's like the people that were like in the limelight were the people that were playing the rock, and like to kind of get through that, like that's what they were doing.
Grand Old Opry. That's what I was thinking of. Or like the Opry, or I don't know how you pronounce that word. It was like, so back in, I believe that was,
that style of music.
Yeah, like
Okay.
I believe it was. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I believe back in that movie, Walk the Line, where he's playing with like Jerry Lee Lewis and
With Ray Orbison.
yeah, like
Yeah.
Roy Orbison, Elvis Presley. I
Yeah.
think Charlie Crockett
Elvis
is much
Presley.
more akin to that than like
Okay.
some of the Johnny's later work. Anyway, that was the word. You keep going.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, like, I feel like, in, like, maybe the 70s, the people that were, like, Elton John, so I just watched that movie, Rocket Man, and, like, Elton John, the 70s, 80s, raging alcoholic, terrible cocaine addict, like, pill popper, but he was just, like, in the limelight, and that was his way of coping with, like, doing that, but the people that, like, aren't so much in the limelight, like, they might not have to
Mm-hmm.
be doing all that type of shit in
Good
order to
point.
like kind of get through the fame.
Mhm.
Whereas like now, I feel like it's completely shifted. Like the rock stars are,
Rock stars are the hip hop artists.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
rock
that's
stars
taking
now
the
are
place
like,
in the
yeah,
mainstream.
they
Like
are.
in the
Right, like-
70s, 80s, it was rock
Yeah.
bands
Yeah.
who were the superstars.
yeah,
Now
and
it's
that's what I'm
the
saying. So
hip-hop
now it's
artists.
like, yeah, like the whole thing is shifted. So it's like, yeah, the hip hop artists, like you said, like Mac Miller and
Mhm.
whoever else is like.
When would you guys say that changed though?
Probably in the
It was
90s.
like the 90s.
what I was
90s,
thinking,
yeah.
too.
I
man.
feel like 90s
Maybe early
was,
90s was a
2000s too.
weird
I'm not
time.
super versed in 90s, but I feel like 90s was probably like a kind of a mix. Like that's when it was transition because during the 90s you had grunge too.
Yeah,
So you had
grunge.
bands like
Yeah.
Nirvana and
Yeah,
stuff
grunge
who
was
were
huge.
huge.
Yeah, and you see
Yeah.
what
But you had a lot of
there's-
hip hop
yeah.
artists who are becoming huge. I
Mhm.
feel like, from what I can tell, like early mid 2000s is like
Mhm.
when it really started
Yeah.
switching to hip hop.
That's
Because
what
then,
I
like
was
growing up, being in middle school and stuff, everyone I knew, at least like in my class, was listening to hip hop.
Everybody
Like
did.
Akon or
Everybody
Usher
did. Yeah.
or
It's just our
90s was
generation.
yeah,
Bro, I remember it was weird too because
Eminem.
I heard
yeah,
something.
Eminem's huge.
I heard something like Travis Scott said that he was a rock star, and I was thinking about it. Like when he first said, it, I was like, "That's fuck. No, you're not a fucking rock star. That's the stupidest
Yeah,
shit that I've
his
heard."
own
And then I
way.
started thinking about it more. Like, yeah, I guess you kind of are. Like you're in the
Yeah.
limelight. You're the one that's popular right now. Like you're the one that's doing all this stuff. Where it's like, yeah, the paradigm's kind of shifted because
Mhm.
it's not.
Yeah, in his own way, I'd say it's probably a reasonable assessment. And obviously, it's hard to say you're a rock star when you're not playing literally
Playing
any rock
rock,
music.
yeah.
But
yeah, I mean,
but
I-
in the
Yeah.
limelight of being a rock star, it's probably fair. Yeah,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Can I offer an incredibly hot take?
yeah,
Yeah.
go for it.
And so I'm saying this
No.
not from a musical
No.
standpoint, not from a musical standpoint, not
Not
from
my
a quality
podcast.
standpoint, anything like that. But here's my incredibly hot take: is that Drake is the Beatles of this era.
I don't think it's that
That's
hot.
interesting. Explain though. Like, what do you
Just
mean by that?
insofar as he's had a lot of influence on how modern hip hop sounds. Like if you go back and you
Yes.
listen to like Take Care
Oh,
Mm.
dude.
or Thank Me Later, he
Dude,
was one of the
graduation.
he was one of the first artists to do the like hip hop mixed with R&B thing.
Yeah,
And that's had a huge influence over the next
Yeah.
15 years of
I mean-
hip hop music, and as far as just raw sales. I mean,
Yeah. I was
I was
Drake's
gonna say
Drake's got to be
He's
Everything
he's
he's
about
number
the
one.
the biggest artist
Yeah.
of our
Yeah.
generation
everything
as
he
far
touches
as sales.
is like
It's
the top
enormous.
selling, yeah.
Yeah.
Every time he releases something new, if you look at Spotify, like
It's the
always
top
it's,
track.
always the, no, it's always
Yes.
the new top
And
track.
it's been that
It's
way for
ridiculous.
10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
at
he's-
least.
you can't even say it's a hot streak anymore. It's like he's just definitely got. I think he's just. I don't want to sound like a huge fucking Drake fanboy or anything, but I think it's either him or his like his PR team. But they are really fucking smart about how they release his stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always like every time he releases something, he finds a way to make it groundbreaking. It's not like, oh, there's a new fucking Drake release. It's
Yeah.
always like the first thing somebody will say to you when you walk in, like, hey, you fucking new Drake.
Yeah.
Like,
You go somewhere, you go to any sort of club, or like I used to go to the
if
hookah
they're
lounge
already
downtown a
playing
lot.
it.
And as there's a new Drake track, you'd hear
Yeah,
it
every
many times that night.
I could
many
be wrong
times.
about this, but one of his albums, it's I'm looking it up now. It's called "If You're Reading This, It's Too Late."
Oh
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
It's phenomenal.
This is
But
a great
I
album.
heard it actually is, but I heard it. I could be wrong, but I heard that like it's just an album that was thrown together with a bunch of songs that didn't. Like,
I think it's
make
actually
his
a
other
mixtape.
cuts or something.
Yeah, I think
like,
it's more of a mixtape than an
Oh.
album.
like in the other albums and stuff. And
Yeah.
he just
Yeah.
threw one together.
It's almost
and
equatable
made
to
it.
doing
like
that a lot
to like
lately.
Untitled,
Yeah.
Unmastered kind of thing.
Yeah, I
that was
like
really
that album a
cool.
lot. That's
Yeah.
either that one or Take Care are my
Yeah,
favorite
Take
Drake
Care
albums.
is fantastic.
Take Care, I've got a lot of
I
nostalgia, just like growing
Listen
up
to that
and
way
being
too
in
much. Yep.
I feel
middle
like
school,
for
high
me,
school. But I still, if I go back and listen to it, it's a good album.
Yep.
It's
like,
objectively good, yeah.
yeah,
I would agree.
I agree. So yeah, I think Drake's the Beatles.
Yeah, I
of
don't
our
know.
generation,
I don't think
culturally at least.
I don't think that's that hot of a take. It's not something I've ever considered before, but I don't think you're wrong.
All right.
Yeah.
Hot take gets a pass.
I'm gonna get bashed for this hot take, and I know it right off the bat. Hot take: Drake is, even though we just got done sucking Drake's dick. Hot
Yeah.
take: Drake is overrated.
I think.
I think he's talented.
As of late, yes.
So
for
I'll
sure.
say that a lot.
As of late, okay, I'll
As of
take it
late,
back.
yeah.
As of
Yeah.
late,
Yeah.
as of lately,
Yes,
he's
I can agree
overrated.
with that.
I
I
think
feel
a-
like it's bullshit.
His
to throw
his new
together
shit.
a-
Me and my buddy were talking about this last night. Like his
haven't gotten
his
into it. I haven't even
old
listened
to it.
like
I can't.
Drake
No.
old Drake stuff is really good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really really good. It's come to the point for me where it's like, dude, you're releasing 3 albums a year. Like, how much passion can you put into a project if you're doing it
Yeah.
3
Well,
times a
at
year?
this point, I think for him, he's found himself in a situation where like he is on the top of the charts all the time.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so he has to stay relevant, and he's got to keep. So he's gotten
Yeah.
caught in this trap where he blew up so much. Now he's got to stay on top.
Yeah.
So you got to put shit out all the time to stay relevant.
Yeah.
Because things move so quick now. Whereas like back in the day when he was like releasing his first few albums, like Take Care and stuff,
Mhm.
he was still on the come up, so he could take his time to
Yeah.
really invest in a project.
And that's why for me, like, Kendrick has managed to stay in this place where he's been a relevant hip hop artist for. I mean, when did Section 80 come out? Like
2010 or
Yeah,
something.
probably 2010.
almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
10
And he's
years
had,
ago,
I mean, he's had 4 official releases since then, plus Untitled, Unmastered.
I'm just.
I mean, not even. Yeah,
yeah. Right.
I mean, so it's like
I can't
he's
believe we
found this way to release one album every 3 years,
Yeah.
but still be a relevant hip hop artist, and that people will claim him to be like the greatest or one of the greatest to ever do. It's like
Mhm.
in reality, I mean, like he's had Section 80 versus Section 90, Section 80,
Section 80.
Section 80.
Good, good Mad City.
His, I mean, what was the album? I think the album was just called Kendrick Lamar, which is also a really good.
That was
album.
before Section 80.
That was way
Yeah.
before Section 80, and then Good Kid, Mad City, To Pimp a Butterfly, Untitled, Unmastered, Damn.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, and like he's I don't know, because that's my comparison between them. He's like he's found a way to stay relevant by only
Yeah.
releasing one album every 3
Right.
years.
But he's also not topping charts the way that Drake.
But
is all
he's
the
also
time.
not topping
He doesn't
charts.
have the numbers.
That's true.
But he does.
But
have
when an
the-
album
the-
comes
the
out,
respect.
but when an album comes out, it is topping the charts.
It is.
Like when an
Yeah.
album comes out, it's like it charts like number 1, if not almost number 1.
Right.
But he just isn't doing it 3 times a year.
Yeah, Drake just does that with every album.
Yeah.
It's number
Yeah.
one.
Right.
So I'm interested though. So if Drake's the Beatles, who is Kendrick Lamar compared to an
TBH
artist
Road?
from the '60s, '70s? What
Pink-
band from back then
Pink-
did the same kind of thing?
Pink Floyd to me.
Pink Floyd, I think they put out an album pretty much every year though.
They have a pretty large
Yeah.
discography.
Like they were during the '70s, I think. And maybe I'm wrong, but I think a lot of those albums were, year to year, like
Who was
pretty
this-
tightly packed in.
Who was his conscious back then?
See, that's a good, and Pink Floyd fits that. Like
Yeah,
they were
for
talking
sure.
about a lot of
That's kinda why
social
I-
issues,
yeah.
political issues, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Well, like to me, musically, it's just a good. I mean, like with almost all of his albums being, or his newer albums being, concept albums.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like it actually follows one linear
I think
story.
that might be a good comparison. I just looked at it, and a lot of those albums are 2 years apart.
Yeah.
So
Which is like to me, I mean, like you can make I think a really good comparison between The Wall and To Pimp a Butterfly, as far as like The Wall being about kind of the progression of this dude's life. I mean, it's a loose comparison, but like the same way with To Pimp a Butterfly is the progression of
Wait,
Kendrick
what
Lamar's
about,
life.
I would say To Pimp a Butterfly
Almost
is
like-
a lot more about being black in America.
Yeah,
That's
but I think
about
it's like
that, those issues.
it's also about like life experience.
I would say maybe like
right?
Good Kid, Mad City would be closer to the wall because you see the progression of this kid growing
throughout
up
like
in this
one night.
city.
Yeah,
What about
that's
Jimmy?
fair.
What about Jimi Hendrix? Would that be comparable? I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't know if Jimi Hendrix
The
was.
Well,
lyrics.
that's an interesting because Jimi Hendrix is
is
so
interesting.
influential
Yeah.
musically.
Influential.
But he also, I
he's,
mean,
he's
like-
conscious and he's groundbreaking.
Yeah, well, it's hard
So,
too.
I
I
think
mean, to make
Kendrick's
the
all
comparison,
those,
like
yeah.
I mean, his discography is just so small because he died at 27.
Yeah.
He's part of the 27 Club.
He was part of the 27.
Sure
so-
I know that.
Yeah, so he died
It's a
at.
shame,
Yeah,
dude.
it is.
I'm about to
man.
have a rough year coming up.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just thinking the same.
I got
yeah.
a scary year to live
Just
through.
thinking the
Yeah,
same.
you gotta make it through that one.
Yeah,
then you're
dude,
good.
make sure to
Jimmy
keep a
Hendrix
white
something.
lighter out of your pocket this entire year.
Yeah.
Keep a white lighter out of your pocket, and you'll be throw
Throw
that shit
a white
away.
lighter
Right
right
now,
now.
dude.
I was
No
just
white
thinking earlier,
lighters.
I fucked up and I called one of Drake's albums Graduation, and that's Kanye.
Yeah, I was gonna
Call
say
you
that
out
is
on that?
Kanye.
Yeah,
I was
I-
thinking that.
You
I
guys
wasn't-
should have, because I like totally
it
thought about it. I was
sounded
like,
weird,
what the
but yeah,
fuck?
I didn't
Yeah.
catch
When you
it.
say
I've been
when you
sitting
say
here for the
graduation,
last-
I was gonna
Yeah.
I was gonna yeah.
I was
let
like,
it
I don't know
slide.
enough about Kanye,
Right.
so I don't want to sound like
I
an
don't
idiot.
really
Which
either.
also, by the way, phenomenal album.
I'll say.
Graduation. is a
Yes,
great
that's what I
album.
was thinking.
Yeah,
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 I don't
it
know
is
why
Kanye.
I mixed those two up. I
Oh,
caught it immediately,
Kanye,
and I've
man.
honestly, I've been thinking about that since it happened. I was
That's
like,
so
Yeah.
funny.
You haven't
When
seen
you
it.
said it, I was
this.
like, something seemed off,
Yeah.
but I just didn't really, it didn't click.
Yeah, I'm
I love to,
shocked you
like,
guys
when-
didn't call me out.
When we go back, I'd love to listen to like the pause that happened after that. Where it was like,
Yeah, I wonder
Okay.
if there was one. I'm
Yeah,
curious.
we'll see.
Okay.
I had
I was
another
gonna say-
hot take that I gave somebody the other night. Old Kanye, better rapper. New Kanye, better producer.
Oh, I
Again, not that
definitely
hot, I
agree with
don't
that.
think.
You mean future president Kanye?
Future president Kanye, yeah.
That Kanye.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
holy
the one.
shit.
Kim Kardashian's the first lady.
You can only dream.
There you go.
Imagine that.
Yeah, you can only dream.
I
as
don't know
well.
enough old Kanye to say. I will say I like the production on his newer stuff better than the old stuff I've heard.
Yeah.
As far as
Yeah.
a rapper, I don't know.
I thought he was,
I-
I
I-
really got
I think he was
into
better
him
when he
back
I
in
feel
the
like
when
from
he
I've
was
heard, I
younger,
feel he's
yeah.
maybe
I
a
do
better
too.
rapper, but with his newer stuff, I like at least with the Kanye tracks I really like. I like how much energy he brings to the track.
Yeah.
Like Black
Yeah.
Skinhead, he goes
Yeah.
hard on Heat off of Life of Pablo. He goes
Yeah,
hard.
Life of
I Am
Pablo
a
does
God,
go
which
hard, man.
I hated that song at first, but I kind of like it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hot opinion. I don't really like Kanye that much.
Yeah, I don't
Put it
either
on.
anymore. I
don't
used
know,
to
man.
for sure. He's a character.
I don't know. It's hard, dude.
For me, I love him as a producer. I
Yeah.
love him as a rapper when he's not
I think he's really smart.
making a fool of himself.
Yeah.
Because he just
He's
like
just-
sometimes I'll be into a song and he'll just drop this
Yeah.
line and I'm like,
Why is that there?
Let me say this.
That never happened. in
like-
albums like graduation.
I like
Yeah.
when Kanye puts out something new because then I go, it's going to have a trickle down effect that's going to influence the rest of hip hop.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, but I don't like the starting point. Like, I don't like Kanye's initial release. I like what happens, like the ripple effect
Okay.
of how it affects other music. I'll say that. I will say he's groundbreaking, but
Yeah.
I don't typically like the
He
ground.
was the
that
number
he's
one
breaking.
for.
I don't like
it.
in the 2000s, he was the number one.
in
for a while.
2000s, I think he was maybe more groundbreaking than like I know when he released Yeezus, he
Yeah,
got a lot of
Yeezus,
credit, which I like that he got a lot of credit for being groundbreaking with the
Yeah.
production on that. But if you go back and you listen to Death Grip's early stuff,
Yeah.
they were doing the same sort of shit on their beats
Mm.
to a much higher level than Kanye was on Yeezus for a while. And there was some other. We actually saw him. They played with Sumac at El Club.
Oh, yeah.
What's that guy's name?
Dalek or something.
Dalek.
Oh my god.
And Dalek has been. I haven't listened to him much, but they've been doing the same kind of like really industrial production on
They've
hip
been
hop
around
songs
for a bit,
for
haven't
probably even before Death Grips, honestly.
Yeah.
And so like there's been artists who've been doing that. I guess I'll give Kanye credit for like it was groundbreaking that he brought that sort of like
Yeah.
gritty rap production to the mainstream.
Mhm.
But
Dude, but Kanye is an absolute genius.
I agree he's a creative genius.
He's a and the thing about it
can't
is like
touch on that.
what's crazy to me is that you can always guess when a Kanye album is gonna release. Like, okay, how about I'm making a prediction, dude. In the next 2 weeks, we're gonna have a Kanye West album.
Has he been up to some crazy shit lately?
He's been up. He's trying to
running
run
for
for president.
Yeah, that's-
I
He's
wasn't-
just trying to
I
run
wasn't
for
kidding when I
president,
said
man.
that.
This is how disconnected I am.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
not
we
on social
yeah.
media.
No,
now,
no,
so-
I was serious when I said that.
Yeah, man,
Oh
so
no,
here's the
I thought
thing.
it was some reference I didn't
Yeah.
get.
Yeah.
No, I think he announced it this morning. That he's
Yeah.
running.
He
Yeah.
talked about
Was
it
it
before.
maybe yesterday? I can't remember. You could be right.
Maybe this is like an
You know-
inside joke amongst our friend group, so I'll explain it. I feel like, because we talked about this before, like anytime Kanye West like does some crazy PR stunt, like is in the limelight for like 2 weeks, and then like 2 weeks after that, an album drops.
So I've brought
so
that
with-
up to people.
yeah,
before.
dude, like,
He's
I've
a
mentioned this
brilliant
before.
marketer.
Yeah, he's great at marketing.
He'll
It's
cause
like
a
the fact
huge
that
fucking ruckus
Yeah.
and then drop an album.
yeah, and so the fact that he's like running for president now, I'm
Yeah.
making the prediction, dude. 2 weeks from today, July 5th, July 19.
10:13 p.m.
Yeah,
Yeah.
July 19 at 10:13 p.m. Kanye West will have a new album out. I'm making that prediction right now.
If
dude.
I had known he was up to some
you would have
nonsense,
said the same shit. Yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
Because he did
Yeah.
the same thing before Jesus. Like he
Yeah.
was all over the news, and then
Yeah.
before Life of Pablo, he was all over
All
the
over the
news.
place.
Yeah.
And he always drops an album a couple weeks later.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah, you're
everyone
probably
he
not
gets
wrong.
everyone talking.
Yeah.
Drop the album, everyone buys it. Everyone's like at least like even for me, like when Life of Pablo came out, I wasn't even really I didn't get into Jesus at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But he was just in the news, like on Twitter doing crazy shit
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when the album came out, I was like, okay, I got to hear what this guy's doing at least. I was just curious.
Yeah.
So it worked on me. I
Something's
mean, I didn't
happening.
buy the album, but I streamed it. He gets money for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something's
Yeah,
happening. man.
I'm honestly curious. I mean, if it's real, I'm curious to see what platform he runs on.
Yeah.
Because the way shit's going right now, I'm not even fucking against voting for him.
Honestly,
Dude,
the
if
way
I'm
he
talking about-
shambles
I'm not
anyway.
even gonna throw it out.
What's the worst thing you had?
Trump, Joe Biden, and Kanye?
Yeah.
Kanye's
Dude,
looking
I
pretty
know
good.
this one.
I
Kanye,
know-
he,
I
hasn't,
do-
he hasn't raped anyone.
Yeah, I literally said at the dinner table tonight. I was having dinner with
doing
my
better
parents,
than
and I
the other
literally
two.
said at the dinner table because we were talking about how Kanye is running for president. I said it's between two rapists and Kanye West.
Yeah.
I'll go
It's
Kanye.
between
And
it's
honestly,
between these two old
can't
white
be
dudes
worse.
that are clearly ridden with dementia
Yeah.
and Kanye West.
And
Like I
maybe-
don't. It doesn't sound like a
maybe-
bad option to me.
maybe he has a good perspective on what's happening. Given like it probably wouldn't hurt to have another
No.
black man in office.
Yeah, I mean I don't
Yeah.
know, man.
But
All I know is
also
he
given-
said some shit about slavery and
Again.
stuff. That
yeah,
was not
he has a pretty
very.
skewed
I was
view.
gonna say there's also that.
Maybe
so,
I missed that.
Yeah,
He's
Oh,
yeah.
he's made some
yeah. He
weird
said that. He
statements.
said that.
He
He said
basically-
that
I-
slaves should have freed themselves.
Yeah, he essentially claimed that
How?
slavery was voluntary,
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
which like I don't know. I don't
would-
know
I
how
would wager
philosophically
that
you
that
work
is-
that up.
Yeah.
I would.
That's
I would
false.
too. Like,
yeah,
how,
when
why?
when
It doesn't
people are
make any
sailing
sense.
you over on boats
Yes.
and putting you on plantations and whipping
Yes.
you whenever you act out, I don't
In
know if that's
fucking
voluntary.
cages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not
Yeah,
voluntary.
they wanted to be in that cage
Yeah.
getting shipped across.
I don't
the
think they're
slave
like,
boat
oh,
for
yeah,
somebody
I'm
else.
okay
How about
with
this,
that.
dude? We can have as many hot takes as we want on this podcast. Kanye West has the hottest hot take of all time.
That's
Yeah.
slavery.
That is
That's the
that's
hottest
the
hot
hottest
take.
of hot
That's
takes.
the
At least,
hottest hot
and
take
that's
I've heard.
at least as far as I know, that seems to
Yeah.
be kind of what he said.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I remember that happening.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's
I
a
don't
hot
know if
take.
he's the most in touch with or,
Yeah.
like the best
With-
voice for socialism.
Well, how long
Yeah,
ago
well,
was
I-
You're
that?
probably right.
Also, I mean, the
Not
fact
that
that,
long.
like,
Too soon.
The
a couple
fact
years
that-
ago.
All
yeah,
right,
the fact that he wears mega hats to this day, I don't know
Right.
if I don't know if the left
Yeah.
is really going for Kanye
But
West.
has
man.
he raped anyone?
I don't.
Well,
not
there
that I
you
know.
go.
Not that
there
we
you
know.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
you go.
I
He's
mean,
got
so
that in
that's
his
he's got
favor.
that. You know,
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
good one. That's a plus.
Yeah.
100%.
Does anybody notice how rough Joe Biden's been looking after Jeffrey Epstein killed himself? You guys been
I
No,
didn't
but what
tie
are your-
that connection.
not.
What are your predictions on with this? I don't know how to say her name. Ghislaine? Ghislaine Maxwell? Whoever this.
Who?
I'm serious. Do you guys know what I'm talking
Ghislaine?
about? I'm serious. You know what I'm talking about?
That's where I live.
It's Ghislaine, I think. I don't know how else you would say that other than Ghislaine. I don't know how to fucking say it.
I don't know.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Who is
she was a close associate of Jeffrey Epstein, and I believe she was the one that was like bringing these girls onto the island,
Hmm.
and they have now put her in custody.
Yeah.
And now they're saying that in custody while she's been in prison, she's contracted COVID-19, which is like, oh fuck,
Yeah.
who could have fucking guessed that would happen?
Shocker.
Shocker.
Yeah. But
That's just a more subtle way to just.
If she
What are the
dies,
predictions?
in prison, dude, I'm a riot.
no, but
No, I'm
seriously.
serious. If she dies in prison, I'm
Seriously.
gonna riot, bro.
Dude,
that's,
They gotta release all of that information. Man.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
were going on a fucking podcast about music and movies, and
I
now
don't
we're
give a
talking
shit.
about how
Talk about
Jeffrey
whatever. I
Epstein
don't give
didn't
a
kill
shit.
himself.
Again, I
It
almost
went
think the
sideways
point should
quick.
be more of this, so it's like to hang out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We will talk about movies and music, but I will also talk
That's-
about
that's-
talk about the
that's-
fact that
did
Jeffrey
not kill
Epstein
himself.
does
That's the
not.
central theme.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the point that I'm making: is why Joe Biden has been looking not as good lately.
His
Because,
lips are sweating, bro.
well, what I'm saying is that after Jeffrey Epstein killed himself, he didn't have the little placentas to be eaten all the time that Jeffrey Epstein
my
was.
God.
Jesus,
Into
dude.
a South Park episode.
Wow.
That is,
That's what the whole thing is
That's-
about, dude.
that's-
Or maybe, you know.
Is that not what the whole thing was about?
Or
I mean,
maybe-
there was a sex island, but then he was also like, Jeffrey Epstein was like
Rejuvenating
millionaires.
his-
Yeah, he was rejuvenating.
This is taking down the life force of
That's
his
not.
stem
That's
cell.
what the other famous podcaster said.
Who the fuck said that?
The fucking what's his name? Joe Rogan.
Oh, the
Joe-
really
yeah,
famous
yeah, the
Very
really
famous
That's,
podcast.
that's not.
one of the
Welcome
most
to Riffs
famous
and
That's
Reels,
what.
man.
Yeah,
Is
that's.
he the goat? Is he the goat of podcasting?
Welcome to Riffs
He is
and
the goat
Reels,
of
where we just
podcasting.
piggyback off Joe
Yeah.
off Joe
Yeah,
Rogan.
that's
You're
all
just
right.
basically like over.
We're coming
just-
for you, Joe
yeah.
Rogan.
Yeah, we're right behind you. We're climbing those
We're
charts.
getting there.
We're on
getting
our
there.
way. You better watch.
Oh,
it.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Come on.
Because
Oh,
we're just
man.
yeah.
Uh-oh. What
No,
happened?
it's good.
Okay.
It just goes to a screensaver.
No, but that's. I'm just saying that's what Joe Rogan said. Joe Rogan said that like Ellen DeGeneres and Joe Biden aren't looking as good
Ellen
because
degenerate.
Ellen
Wait, is
DeGeneres.
Ellen DeGeneres somehow tied in on this shit?
Ellen DeGeneres. Joe. It was either Alex Jones or Joe Rogan said that Ellen
Shut up.
DeGeneres is a part of this thing.
On my
Man.
mama, bro. Are you sure it's not gonna cut out the recording?
No, we checked it earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, it still goes. That's why it goes to a screensaver.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not. That was just like, because I mean, like, what was Alex Jones saying about how the millionaires are eating the placentas and that's why they're becoming rejuvenated,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
Blood infusions. from
Yeah,
young,
blood
all that
infusions,
stuff.
yeah, exactly,
no,
man.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what's real anymore.
I'm gonna riot though if she dies in prison, dude. I'm
Yeah.
over it, bro.
We
I need the
already fucking know.
I need the truth.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, but that's the problem, though. Is we all know Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself, but what does that change?
That is
Like,
the
they're gonna
mo-
keep
like,
doing the same shit.
I don't know
no
a
matter
single
what.
person. I don't know
It's
a single
out in the
person
open.
that like Republican, Democrat, Libertarian that doesn't believe that Jeffrey Epstein was murdered.
Yeah.
Like that's the one thing.
But they
all
s-
the crazy shit that's going on in 2020. That's the one thing
Everyone
that
agrees.
everyone
on.
can agree on. is
But
that
what's
man
fucked
did not
up
kill
is they
himself.
still got away with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course they got
Nothing's
it.
Because
gonna-
again, 2020.
They have
Even if
billions
it's
of
in broad
dollars.
daylight and everyone knows,
Mhm.
still the same shit's gonna happen.
Yeah.
They got
Yeah.
they got the money, they got the power.
I'm just saying, Dick Cheney shot somebody in the face, and he was still the vice president for
Well, that was a little. It was an accident.
4 years.
I get it, man. People look a lot like deers, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, so what's the musical equivalent of Jeffrey Epstein?
of Jeffrey Epstein himself.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Honestly, the only thing I can think of, I've never listened to it because I don't want to. But there's this album called Buyer's Market. I have no idea what genre it's in, but I know that I don't think there's actually like any lyrics or singing, but it's maybe it's like some sort of like ambient, like dark ambient album, but all of the vocals are sound recordings, like almost like field recording-esque of like legitimate pedophiles and other types of people talking about that market,
It's
like the
horrifying.
child sex market. So it's called Buyer's Market,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
it was
shit.
made to essentially expose that this exists, and it's fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
And I've never even listened to it because I don't
I don't think I have the
I-
stomach. for
I
this,
don't
too.
need that in my
probably,
day.
Yeah, I probably don't.
but it's
No.
like a chronicle of like this is how bad things are, and it's still this way.
I mean,
What's
shit,
that
dude, we live
album?
in Grand Rapids. It's like #1 sex
It's up-
trafficking
it's up
city in
there.
the world.
It's
I think it's not
very
number
high
one
up
anymore,
there.
but
Not
it
anymore.
was
It's
bad for a
fucked
while.
up, man.
What's that album by a band? I think it's called. It's like a German band, maybe like Stalag Gulag. or-
Ramstein.
No. Fuck, no, not
No.
that. No, it's like.
I know what
Stalag-
you're talking about.
Yeah, it's just field recordings of psychiatric patients just like screaming into a cell.
Yeah, he would just
Yeah.
go
Cell.
into psych wards and
Jesus
to asylums
Christ,
and
man.
record
Yeah.
people who have just lost their mind. So it's like
Yeah.
the tortured screams of the insane.
Can you imagine?
I got
This
about
is not
3.
good. I've
That's-
never even.
I
Pretty
got like
fucked
3 minutes
up.
into it. I was like, first, this is fucking horrible.
Yeah.
2, it's horrifying.
Yeah.
That's
I
I've
don't know
never
if there's
listened.
even
I
a
was like,
3. That's pretty much all I needed.
That's not.
I don't need to listen to that.
No,
you know,
man,
I don't
that's
need
fucked
that in
up.
my day.
Who just comes up with that though?
Yeah.
No, I'm just gonna fucking.
It's art,
Black
man.
metal artist.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah, I
art,
guess
man.
you're right.
It's art.
yeah, you know, it's
Poetry.
oh, you know,
Like a very
expressive.
rough interpretation of the word.
Yeah. That's fucked up, dude.
loosely defined.
Yeah.
All right. I feel like we spent a decent amount of time talking about music and and rapists.
Yeah.
Anybody want to switch over to movies maybe? We had started talking about them on the unofficial official.
Yeah, so we
first
started
podcast.
talking about movies that we've seen recently that were new to us, that left an impression, but aren't necessarily new.
Yeah, you had brought up Florida Project.
The Florida Project.
I thought it was
Yeah.
interesting.
I
Florida
haven't
Project.
gotten to that one yet.
No,
I've
really
I've
good.
meant to
Yeah.
since it came out,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
just
Willem Dafoe.
Yep, Dafoe.
I know I think he was. I don't think he won. Maybe he
No,
did.
he was nominated. I think
He was
though.
nominated for Best Supporting
Yeah,
Actor.
Yep,
Yeah.
supporting.
Which he deserves it. He does a great job in that
He
movie.
really does.
I don't
It's like
think
the
he
most-
won though, did
I
he?
guess I don't want to say the most human. I would say I would wager it's the most normal that you see Willem Dafoe in a film.
Yeah,
It's just like this beaten down guy. He's
Yeah.
not playing like a fucking creepy detective or like
Right.
this
Yeah.
insane man trapped in a lighthouse. You know.
Yeah,
Or
he's
just
just
like
a
a
guy
Green
who
Goblin.
manages this motel
Mhm.
that a bunch of shitheads live at.
yeah,
Mhm.
And he's just trying to keep the peace, keep things running smoothly. But what I liked about his character is like you see how like you'd think this guy would just be sick of all these people's shit, but he's really looking out for all
He's
these
got a big
people and he
heart.
wants the best.
Yeah.
And he's kind of a pseudo father figure to
Yeah.
the main actress in the movie.
Was it like
Yeah.
like the landlord for like apartments or something? Is that what it is?
It's a motel.
Motel.
but
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
motel in
Yeah.
Florida,
You
like
could
right by
basically-
Disney World.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could basically call it an apartment because
Okay.
Yeah, people
everybody
live
just
there.
lives
People live there. Yeah.
But there's like a scene in the movie where the main character, she has to move all of her shit into a different apartment
Yeah.
so he can take pictures of the empty motel room she lives in. And she has to go stay at a different motel for the night, and he's got it all set up where she gets a discounted rate.
Okay.
So she spends the night there, and she can come back, and then they move all the stuff back into the apartment.
Okay.
So otherwise, if you're there for like 30 days, you have legal residence,
Right.
and they can't kick you out.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And so, but you see, he's like looking out for her, even though
Yeah.
she's a pain in the ass. She's like the worst tenant ever.
Yeah.
But he still hooks her up with this deal, this other hotel, all this
Yeah.
different stuff throughout the movie.
She's like a natural caring about him, like just
Mhm.
Yeah, so he's a really good guy.
yeah.
Very,
And this main character's a fuck up.
Yeah.
Like, he's got a couple kids. But a lot of the movie, too, what I really liked is these 3 kids, and there's like a couple other ones, just like running around this motel and around Florida,
Yeah.
just getting into trouble, having fun.
Right.
And like,
Being hooligans.
these kids don't realize that they live in a shitty situation.
Right,
And like their
yes.
parents are fucked because there's kids.
Right.
It's like they're making fun out of anything, so you really see like the innocence of childhood
Yeah.
is really cool.
Yeah.
I like that part a lot. That was
Yeah.
one of my favorite.
The contrast was really nice.
Yeah, it
No
was those-
spoilers.
No.
No, I get
there's
it, I'm
those.
just-
It's there's like the kind of not opposing motels, but they're
Yeah.
like across the street from each other. But the relationship between like the 2 little white kids and the 2 Hispanic kids, and just like their realization of the humanity of both of them. You know,
Mhm.
I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
The-
Yeah, definitely, man.
Yeah.
Especially, I
that's-
feel like growing up in Florida, like a very deep South state, that's definitely not the norm.
Yeah.
You know, it's like unfortunately frowned upon to have like.
Well, I feel like doesn't Florida have like a pretty
Very
high
much so.
Hispanic population?
They might, but it doesn't necessarily mean.
Oh,
I don't know
that's
that
right,
they're.
right,
I don't
right.
know how fond. I don't know how fondly they're treated.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
I think
really
that-
know.
But
But that's my movie.
yeah, I enjoyed that one a lot. What about you guys?
I fell asleep to Inglorious Bastards last night.
You've never
actually.
seen the whole
I,
thing?
I saw it some odd years ago. I didn't like pretty much when it came out. I haven't seen it since. And like, dude, I feel like people sleep on that. Like
That's high on my list.
it's
of
very
Tarantino.
high on my list.
Yeah.
It's probably second or third.
I would
Mhm.
say it's up there.
It's
for me, I think
great.
Django is my favorite Tarantino. But
Django.
I love Django. Yeah.
I need to
Really?
go
I
back
almost feel
some.
like that's a
I
hot
saw it when I was
take.
in theaters.
Really?
Yeah.
I fucking love it.
I
think
love
it's
Django
phenomenal.
too, but like it's
I think Jamie Foxx kills it.
He
I
does.
think Leo. That's one of
Leo's
like,
insane in
best
that
roles.
movie. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
great.
But yeah, I would say Inglourious Bastards. That was my first Tarantino film,
Really.
and I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought it was really well done.
I actually just finished it for the first time recently.
Did you?
Because
What'd
I
you
had
think?
seen like the first maybe 60% before.
Yeah.
Fell asleep in like a month and
Yeah.
a half ago. I actually watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's a good one,
It's
man.
great.
It's
dude.
phenomenal.
Brad Pitt
Phenomenal.
kills
I
that
love-
role.
yeah,
Right,
I'm in
so
on
good.
Brad Pitt.
Oh yeah, it does.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you my scalps.
Yeah. The
Right.
Bear Jew.
Yeah, the bear.
Oh, we're talking
Jew.
about what? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love too
I
was
thought we were
like,
still on Django Unchained. I was like, I'm pretty
Oh,
sure
no,
Brad Pitt's
sorry.
not in Django
No,
Unchained.
No.
Yeah.
yeah,
I still did love Django too.
Mhm.
I think it was good.
Absolutely.
But I like too in that movie. There's those couple side characters
Yeah.
who at the end are just like up on the balcony with the machine guns,
Yeah.
just gunning down Nazis.
Yeah.
And like the place collapses on them. Like they know they're gonna die,
Yeah.
and they're just up there just gunning everyone they
Yeah.
can down.
I
And
love the relationship between
bonkers.
the guy who runs the film for that theater and then the lady who owns it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Me
I thought
too.
That was really
that was a really
good.
great relationship.
That story is just
'Cause
so
It's like you don't catch it at first, but you kind of see it coming.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, you just grow really fond of them. And you got to consider too what was going on at the time. That was
Yeah.
just as frowned upon as being Jewish in Germany.
It was
you
a
know?
very taboo relationship,
Yeah,
you know. But you see that like they're just like any other couple.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And yeah, you
Willing
grow
to die
really
for this cause. It's really
Yeah.
like
the
moving.
dedication of these
Yeah.
people, and that's I guess
Incredible.
what I was saying about like the guys in the machine guns is like they know they're gonna die, but they're here for this cause,
Yeah.
and that's what they're doing, and they're there
Yeah.
to the bare. And you can see them like they're up on the and they're just enjoying it, like got smiles on their faces,
Yeah.
like they're not even thinking about the fact they're gonna die in
No.
a minute.
No.
I wonder how much of that story is like steeped in truth.
I don't think any.
Well, obviously, but as far as
The opening scene.
yeah,
I think about
The opening
that as
scene
like
is
the
so-
opening scene
What is
is
the
so
opening
fucking
scene again?
intense. It's when they're hiding underneath the house and the Nazi
Oh,
general
yeah.
comes
doing
in.
that. Then
And
he's
he's like getting like a glass of milk or something, and
Yeah.
like
He's
they're
like-
hiding underneath the floorboards. And I think that like
dude, the way if I remember correctly too, the soundtrack that they used to build up the intensity.
Yes.
It's either you know what? Now that I think of it, maybe there. Fuck. I don't
I think
remember.
there might not be any
There
music,
might not be any now that I think about it.
which is kind of rare for Tarantino
Yeah.
because he's normally very.
yeah, I don't.
Selective
There
about
wasn't
his
a-
music.
Yeah.
But as
I
she's
know his last
it's
name,
like
I should know
silence
this,
with
but
a
it
bunch
was
of
si- It was
tension.
silence, yeah.
as she's running
No
away
Country
and
for Old
he's
Men.
got the fucking
Yeah.
he's got the sights aimed down at her. He's like, Au
Yeah.
revoir, Shoshana.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that comparison to Old Country.
yeah.
old
country
for no
country
for no man.
Old country
no
for
men.
Old
No
country
men
No
for
men for old
No men
country.
for no
Old
country.
Yeah.
Old country buffet.
Old
for
men
no
for
man.
no. Yeah, I like old men for no country.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That is a
That's
good comparison.
one of my
though.
favorite movies of all
Wait,
time.
what was
Yeah,
it? I
same,
missed the-
man.
what was the
Great
comparison?
book too. The comparison between like very like with like that opening scene in Inglourious Basterds, like lack of music, just kind of like dialogue heavy. We're like,
I guess
Old Country for No Men too.
I
Old
didn't
Country,
really
Jesus
think about
Christ,
that when I watched. I can't say. Is it Old Country? for
No,
Men?
no,
No Country for Old Men.
No
Jesus,
Country
you
for Old
fucked me up
Men.
so there's- I
No,
couldn't
no,
even-
no Country
No-
Men Old.
no
I've
Country
read the
for Old
book
Men.
and seen the movie. I couldn't even think of the title.
Yeah.
I didn't really
Phenomenal
think
book,
about
too.
that when I watched it.
There's not like it's like even the book too. So it's like not that much dialogue, not that much music.
There's no music in the movie.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
no
I
music.
know,
in the
I
movie.
know.
Unless
It's
like
just,
a character is listening to something on the radio, I think maybe
Yeah,
or something
maybe,
like that. But
but
there's
other
no.
than
And
that,
what's
yeah.
so impressive about
which
that?
hits the book really
It's-
well.
Yeah, so it makes the movie.
Yeah.
What's impressive to me about that is I didn't even remember there was no music in it.
Yeah, you don't think
When
about
I watched
it,
that
'cause
movie,
you
and
don't
I didn't
have
even
to.
notice it when I watched it.
Yeah.
Watch it
Because
again.
the movie is just so well done
Yeah.
that you forget
You
that
don't
And that's
think
what's
about
crazy
it.
because
Yeah.
it hits
That's
the
wild.
like thematically, dude. Like it hits the theme of the book so well of just really dry, like not a lot of dialogue.
Fucking Turkish
I got a
royals.
stack of boxes over
This,
here.
is good. This table is fucking
For
gross.
whoever
are.
3 people listen to this podcast eventually, there is a pile of 4 cigarette boxes stacked on top of each other in front of Nick, and
Wait a second. Let me reach.
slew of
let me reach for my-
cigarette butts and cellophane and empty beer
Let me
cans.
You're
reach
gonna
for my
get
cans real
secondhand.
quick.
That's about how this is being recorded.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm trying to get that sponsorship.
Yeah.
yeah.
Camel, hit us
Turkish
up.
Royals.
Yeah,
Turkish
Camel,
Royals.
give us a
Royals.
shout.
Oh, yeah.
I know you two have read it. Have you read No Country for Old Men?
I've never read it, and I
Very
really good.
worthwhile.
yeah,
it is a good read,
I have a
man.
like I'm super ADD, and like I used to love reading as a kid, and then I realized I was, and since then I just have had the hardest time reading. Like
I bet you
it
anything.
becomes such a fucking chore because like I'm into the story, but then I have to go back so many times
Yeah,
that like
same.
I go through like 20, 30 pages, and I couldn't tell you what just happened.
Yeah,
I bet you
same
anything,
man.
man.
I have the
It's a-
exact same thing.
it's
Yeah.
Awful,
It's
dude.
hor- it
I love the
sucks.
audiobooks. I love.
I was gonna say, I
can
was
do
wondering
that.
because I know you
Audiobooks
can
are
listen to
so I
podcasts
listen
when
to
you're at
podcasts
work. Yeah.
all the time. So like, yeah, so if I was gonna do it, then
That's
like
it.
Harry Potter's another one. I've always wanted to fucking read those books. and
They're
I-
good. I read them in high
they
school.
They really are pretty fucking.
The
big.
first-
I hear they're masterpieces.
They are the first. I think it's the first 3.
Mm-hmm.
You can definitely tell it's written towards a younger
Children.
audience.
Mhm.
Just
Yes.
even like the
I
story
got the feel for that.
and the
yeah,
language.
Definitely.
And once you get to the 4th one,
Yeah.
it's a huge step up.
Yeah.
And like
Well,
story
she
gets way
wrote
better.
them
The
so that
writing.
you could grow up.
Yeah,
with
she
the
did.
books.
She realized, my
That's pretty
audience
dope,
is mostly
actually. Is that really
10-year-olds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
Yeah.
That's
It's like,
really
these
cool.
these 10-year-olds are now 15.
Right,
So
and they've
I,
grown up with these characters like you're seeing on screen.
Yeah, and by the
Mhm.
time you get to the end of the series, it's written for like young adults.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think if I went back and read them as an adult, I'm sure
Yeah.
I'd still like them.
Or my
Yeah.
classmates thinking I was like fucking sacrilegious because my mom would let me read Harry Potter.
Yeah, I got
It
looks
was-
at
it was
school,
really-
so went to a little Christian school, and
And I
people
told
would
my
like
mom about
look
it.
at
She
me
was like,
wrong.
Why
It's
was
a-
Harry
she's
Potter
like,
frowned
it's
on?
a
Magic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
dude,
such
literally
horseshit.
Well, like
Shit
Lord
is
of the
magic,
Rings,
yeah.
Yeah.
Chronicles of Narnia.
Such
Mhm.
horseshit.
But those
Yeah.
were written by
Christian.
Christian authors,
I had
so
the
it
same
was
way.
okay.
I tell my parents to this day, where you guys really like, I think great job raising me, but where you fucked up is Harry Potter and Pokemon. For me. Like, what were you?
ruined me.
You ruined.
I
it.
also
like,
wasn't
I would,
allowed to watch Pokemon
oh,
growing up.
Yeah, and I don't understand why. I'm like, oh man.
My mom
Sounds
thought
like such a
Pokemon
fucking-
was demonic,
Yeah.
Really.
so I couldn't watch it.
I never
yeah.
heard demonic. That's
Yeah.
a,
Like,
that's
all
a
of
strong word.
We were banned from turning.
Yeah,
on
we were
Pokemon.
like,
I feel like all of our restrictions were pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't watch Family Guy when I was
Yeah.
a kid. But
Mm.
Couldn't
now
watch
that we're an
porn in
hour
the
into this
living room.
podcast,
Was
Again.
Couldn't watch Girls from the Back Door 3, but
yeah, I wasn't allowed.
yeah, now that we're like more than an hour into this podcast, for the 4 people that are gonna listen to this eventually, Noah and I are brothers. Yeah, Noah and I are brothers. So if you hear weird relational shit between us, that's why. Yeah, because I remember
Weird
telling
intellectual shit.
I remember telling Mom and Dad that I was gonna play Dungeons and Dragons, and they were like concerned.
I remember you telling me about
They
that.
were
I
like,
thought it was the
You're
funniest
gonna
thing.
become a
Right.
Satanist, like
You
you're
become a
gonna
Satan?
too late. Yeah, it was
I already am.
and like, because there was this like
Wow.
whole like myth thing going around that like people that played Dungeons and Dragons were like murderers and that they were Satan worshippers. And so I told them I was going to play Dungeons and Dragons, and they were concerned.
Get the fuck
And so
out
I
of
put
here.
up like 5 articles of like all of this is bullshit. It's literally just dudes who don't have sex in a basement.
well, let me put it this way.
This is a nerdy virgin game.
All people who play Dungeons and Dragons are not murderers, but all murderers play Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an interesting.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
I think that
It's a hot
works
take.
better if you say, not all people who play Dungeons and Dragons are virgins, but all virgins play
Like Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, you could actually.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So-
We
have my
Glorious
movie.
Bastards. Yeah, what about
Mine was
Nick at Inglorious Bastards.
Yeah.
What's yours?
Mine was actually really, really weird because like I've been on this mostly just like watching movies that I've already seen multiple times. Like I haven't been in like the mindset to watch something new and kind of like take it in.
I've been there too. That's
Yeah.
why. Yeah.
Other than I watched, starring Sam Elliott, The Man Who Killed Hitler and then Bigfoot.
Dude, that is a
cinema
fucking
masterpiece.
sad-
Dude,
movie.
it is
It is
a
kinda
masterpiece.
sad. Really
One, it's a
sweet.
masterpiece. 2, it's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And 3, it's one of the best movies I've ever
Yeah.
seen, man. It's the dumbest
It's
concept.
mind-boggling
Yeah.
that it exists.
Yeah,
was
I mean
not
the
in-
title, "The Man Who Killed Hitler and then Bigfoot,"
I was
it
sucked in.
delivers on exactly what you think it would
Yeah.
deliver on.
Yeah.
Like,
It
it's
is, yeah.
just a story about a dude who kills Hitler and then goes and kills Bigfoot.
It's
But
just
isn't
weird
something
to
about like his lost love or something too?
Well, like, yeah, he's like this lost love piece, but then the reason that, like, Bigfoot needs to be murdered is because Bigfoot has, like, this virus that they're worried is going to spread through the entire world.
Basically,
And so
like
they-
Bigfoot has COVID.
Yeah, basically, yeah, Bigfoot
The
has
2020
the...
version.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bigfoot has the coronavirus, and it turns out that the dude that conveniently killed Hitler also has the blood type or like specific blood that makes him immune to
Yes.
this type of virus. They're like, well, you killed Hitler, so you must be good at killing Bigfoot too. So let's
Yeah.
ship you out into
Yeah.
Canada so you can go kill Bigfoot.
It's stupid as shit, but I could listen to Sam Elliott talk all day.
I could listen.
And
Yeah,
that's what's weird about the movie. It's like
Yeah.
this B movie.
Yeah.
a super low budget, but they have Sam.
But they have
Elliott.
Sam Elliott.
Yeah.
I think they spent the entire budget on
Probably
Sam
on
Elliott.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
'Cause
Bigfoot isn't
is
even
like
big.
some dude in a fucking monkey suit.
Yeah, literally.
It's terrible.
Yeah. Oh man. Still really, it was really
But
good though. I
it is
actually
kind of
really
depressing
enjoyed it.
to the
Man.
beginning because Sam Elliott just like he killed Hitler, but now he just lives in this like middle of nowhere town, and he's just an alcoholic essentially.
Yeah.
He just goes to the bar and drinks.
Which
Yeah.
might be the true story of Sam Elliott. I'm not sure.
That could be, yeah.
That's
I
actually-
Yeah, the
wouldn't-
true story of
it's
Sam
not
Elliott is
inconceivable.
actually Sam Elliott killed Hitler when he was a ripe boy at fucking. He probably was 6 years old when Hitler died.
Oh, right, boy.
The
Oh,
boy is
shit.
right.
Every time I think of him, I think of him sitting at a bar on a bar stool. So
Yeah.
I get it.
That seems like where he belongs.
Yeah, he's
in
got
a
the
Yeah,
look
saloon
for it.
that is
somewhere.
certainly his
Yeah,
home.
he's got the look, the voice. He's just got the personality for
Yeah.
it too. He's,
I'd kill for his mustache.
Complete-
that's all I'm
oh,
saying.
That's
I
thing
would.
is insane,
I'd
man.
kill for
that
that
thing
mustache.
talks
man.
to people.
Yeah.
It's got a life
It's got
of its own.
personality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a theory that Sam Elliott's mustache actually is his spirit is held
Within the
within the
stash.
stash.
Yeah.
Mustache.
If we were
If
to
he
shaves,
dies,
he
I think
dies.
yeah,
he
if
dies.
we shave Sam
His
Elliott's
life
mustache,
force.
then he actually
just
dies.
dies.
Yeah.
When he dies, his mustache is going to just detach from his face and fly away.
Up into the sky.
Onto a new life.
yeah, onto
Yeah.
a new life,
Be
exactly.
free,
Yeah,
my
it's
child.
gonna it's gonna latch onto some 6-year-old child and just give him the world's deepest voice.
This
gonna-
is a new Sam Elliott.
Yeah.
His
It's gonna land on
mustache
Coulter
travels.
Wall or something.
Yeah,
Say
no.
what?
It's gonna land on Coulter Wall.
Yeah.
or something.
It's gonna land on some kid named Reggie, but as soon as it attaches to his face, everybody just calls him Sam Elliott.
Oh, yeah,
we
what's
don't
up,
actually
Sam?
we don't actually know that the previous Sam Elliott existed because it's this new kid who's named Sam Elliott.
Yeah.
We're all just brainwashed to think that he never died in the first
Sam
The
one.
Elliott is a
mustache just has
demigod.
that power over
Yeah.
it. Sam Elliott is eternal. Sam
Yeah.
Elliott is the mustache,
Yeah,
and he's
dude.
been here since the beginning of
The,
time.
it's the Eldritch
He's in
mustache.
Elliott.
Yeah.
The Eldritch mustache.
I know. What's your movie?
I want to be honest. I haven't seen anything that's really blown me away, but I watched one with Shia LaBeouf and some Swedish
Swedish.
actor the other
The
day.
Swede
He wasn't
actor.
Swedish, but he was
He
Swedish.
is Swedish. He was Swedish. He'd been there before.
A
Um,
little
I
tinge
don't
of
think he was
Sweden.
Swedish.
in him.
A little
But-
tinge of
He's
sweet.
got a little tinge of the Swede. It was called
He's tangling
it was
with the
Borg,
Swede.
Borg versus McEnroe. It's told the story of these two Wimbledon rated tennis players. One of them had Borg was 4 Wimbledon like gold medals deep, and McEnroe was like this kind of up and coming American tennis player, but he had a fucking mouth on him, and but he was like the closest contestant to beating Borg. That's really it. It wasn't fucking like I haven't seen anything that's super blown me away, but it had Shia LaBeouf, so it had a little bit of charm to it. But to be truthful, as much as I love Shia LaBeouf, I feel like a lot of times he kind of plays the same American, like all American kid with a lot of attitude.
Yeah.
And so he plays the role really well, but
Yeah.
it wasn't. It was a good film. Like I enjoyed
I mean, I
watching
guess,
it,
like-
but I wasn't like I didn't leave it like holy fuck.
Yeah.
I can't, that was
Honey Boy for me is
Honey
like
Boy,
the
yeah,
one
Honey
thing
Boy,
that like
that
Honey
was a
Boy
great
and then,
movie.
and then what was the Falcon?
Peanut Butter Falcon.
Peanut Butter
I
Falcon.
like that.
Holy
Both
Hard
those
to
are
say, 'cause
awesome.
they're both just
They're
so fucking good.
Yeah,
great,
Dude,
man.
that guy.
I like Honey Boy more.
I do
I do
too.
too,
I
think.
I do too.
Peanut Butter Falcon's more of a.
It's really feel
It's like
good.
a fun, feel-good
Yeah.
movie. It's
Yeah.
more fun, but
yeah,
Honey Boy was
it was real.
It
was
it just
very-
felt so real.
Yeah.
incredibly real,
Yeah.
really well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shia LaBeouf fucking killed
That
it
was- he
playing his
killed
dad.
it.
That was the most impressed I've ever been by Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
And I don't mean
Yeah.
to say that like it was his best, but it wasn't great. I mean, it was
Right.
a really
No,
great
it was-
film.
Because
Yeah,
that broke the
great,
trend
man.
of what you were just talking about.
Yeah.
Like he plays the same character. This
Yeah.
one, I agree with you for the most part, and except that one was just
He basically, I mean, he
last
plays.
few that
He
he's-
plays like Shia LaBeouf if Shia LaBeouf had never gotten famous.
Yes.
basically.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's and which is basically what his father was.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
like what is he was like a rodeo
circus,
clothes,
circus
Yeah.
something like
clown,
that.
yeah.
Circus
Right.
Clown.
I mean, that was a cool thing to me too. So it's like we're watching this movie about Shia LaBeouf writing this movie.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, like the
Yeah.
movie, took place of like, this guy in rehab and he's writing he's writing just kind of like through his feelings, which is Shia LaBeouf. I mean, he actually went through that whole process when he went to rehab.
And
like
the
Honey Boy was written while Shia LaBeouf was in rehab.
Yeah.
And it was written about that exact situation, which is really fucking cool.
The guy who portrays him kills it too.
Yeah.
Nails
He
it,
does
dude.
a really good
The
job.
kid,
been
too,
in
The
quite a
kid
few-
was really.
that kid
I was
was
just gonna say
phenomenal.
that. He was
Really
really
good.
Great
Yeah.
child
He
actor.
nails young Shia LaBeouf,
Yeah.
man, like perfectly.
Yeah. He reminds me a lot of like Shia LaBeouf in Holes.
Yeah.
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 Great film.
Yeah.
I gotta go back and
It's
watch
an
it.
all-time
Yeah,
classic.
I've seen that
Great
still as a kid.
It is an all-time classic.
Watch
too damn bad.
Yeah. You keep digging.
keep digging.
Excuse me.
Why do I feel like who was
The
the like the warden in that movie?
Sigourney Weaver.
Yes.
Sigourney Weaver, but then
that
who was the
is,
other? Who was the
yeah.
other one?
What's that?
The
The guy.
Yeah.
I liked you better when you smoked. The guy's always putting down those fucking
In my
sausages
head-
and
in my head-
sunflower
seeds,
seeds.
In
Yeah.
my head, it's Sam Rockwell, and I know
No,
it's
it's
not Sam Rockwell.
absolutely
It's
fucking.
not.
I know,
Yeah.
but in
It's
my
that guy.
head,
I think
he's in a lot of shit.
his first big film was Deliverance, actually.
Yeah, I think you might be
He
right.
played Nick Cage's dad in National Treasure
What's
too.
that guy's fucking name?
I'm almost positive.
I'm looking it up.
I think
dude.
Mom used to have a crush on the guy too,
Get the-
which is weird
wow,
because
that
he
is
is
very
a strange looking.
He's
fella.
a strange-looking man. He really is a strange-looking
I'm
man.
actually curious. What else is he?
Oh,
been in?
John Voight.
That's it, John Voight. Yeah.
No, but I'm thinking of
Am I
Tim
right on
Blake
National
Nelson.
Oh, yeah, that guy's fucking weird too.
Tim Blake Nelson.
Oh,
is
he's
in
the dude from
Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Ballad of Buster
yeah.
Scruggs.
Oh, brother, we're out there.
Is he
Yeah.
the guy who plays Buster Scruggs?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
plays Buster Scruggs.
Yeah.
That's just incredible.
Yeah.
That, oh man.
Was I right on my Nicolas Cage National
Oh,
Treasure?
brother,
take?
where art thou? I can't even say that. Oh, brother, where art thou? He was also one of the three.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's a
right.
great film.
I
too.
need to actually watch that from beginning to end.
Me too.
Have you not seen it?
It's been a long
I saw it
time
growing
since I've
up,
seen
and
it.
then like a year and a half ago, maybe I started it, and I watched the first.
Yeah, whenever you watch it, dude, I'll watch it
15
with
minutes,
you.
yeah.
My mom
It's
will
been-
too. If you want to watch that movie, that's my mom's
I would
favorite film.
actually,
Which
I'd
one?
actually like to watch with your mom because
Yeah.
I know she's probably pretty versed
It
in
is-
the Odyssey.
Yeah. Oh,
which
super,
I've
yeah.
read once.
Yeah.
But
She's
I think
very well
she would
versed
be
in the
able to,
Odyssey.
because I know it's based on the Odyssey.
Yeah.
She'd be able to point out
That's
a lot
interesting.
more.
Yeah, her and I both, because her and I
Uh,
read through the Odyssey together when
Okay.
we were young, and I think
Dude, that's wholesome.
it actually might be
Yeah.
her favorite movie.
That makes sense.
Yeah, she loves it, man.
But I would like
She'd
to
love,
watch
she,
it
actually, she would love to watch it with you.
because
straight
she
up.
could point out like all the points where it's
Yeah.
allegorical a lot
Yeah.
more than I
Yeah.
could.
Yeah.
Because I read it
for
once,
sure.
but I know she would be able to say like, oh, that corresponds with this part in the
Yeah.
Odyssey.
Yeah, she
It'd be
would.
fun.
I mean, even like they even hit on like
Well, fuck it, man.
The-
Let's
the-
watch Oh
the-
Brother Where Art Thou with your
yeah.
mom.
I'm
You know,
Let's
down.
she actually like, I don't know if she's correct, but she was able to discern that the lyrics from The Deal by Sumac were about Beowulf.
Yeah, no, I remember you when we were
And then
really into
she
that.
started making the comparisons. I was like, fuck, I think she's right.
Yeah.
It's just like really crazy.
It wouldn't have
nuts.
shocked me enough. Aaron Turner is
Yeah. Oh, not
into
at
that
all.
sort of literature.
Yeah, not at
so
all.
yeah,
It's definitely it's an idea.
right. What I was gonna say, going back to what movie were we just talking about? Oh, Honey Boy. A Honey Boy with Shia LaBeouf being really good in that gave me a whole new respect for him. I was gonna say the other actor I just had that experience with last year as well was Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems.
oh my god,
Dude.
yeah,
Like
absolutely.
Yeah.
both those actors, like people I just like never really took that seriously.
Yeah.
And then I saw both those movies and like, okay, these guys have
Yeah.
serious talent.
Yeah,
like,
dude,
doing
that
something-
movie rocks my fucking world, man.
It's
Mhm.
so
Straight
good.
up.
Anxiety attack through the whole thing.
Yeah,
It is. That movie
it
is.
is
I love
a
every
prolonged.
second of
Like,
it.
how does
Yeah.
this man live like this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yep. Yeah. The other one they did, Good Time with Robert Pattinson, dude. That,
Yep.
Yeah.
Man.
Also
That
a
one
great
was.
film.
And that one for
Life-changing
me
to me.
solidified
Yeah.
Robert Pattinson because
Yeah.
I
Oh,
had
for sure.
really only seen him in as far as like a serious role, and I'm sure he's done other great stuff, but was The Lighthouse.
Yeah.
Mm.
I saw him in that and I was blown away.
Yeah.
This
Highlights.
guy is
Highlight.
amazing.
Highlights.
High
Really
Life,
good one.
yeah.
And then Good Time you showed to me,
Yeah.
and that was like 2 movies back to back.
Yeah.
This guy's
Yeah,
got
High
chops.
Life was great, dude.
Yeah, he's
if,
actually been
if you
striking
haven't seen
gold.
High Life, watch
Which
High
one is High Life?
High Life.
I
is
haven't seen it. It's on my. we can
Robert
watch it.
Pattinson is
Yeah.
like it's like this like
It's a slow burn.
yeah, it's
I've
a
heard that
real
too.
slow burn. But they
Yeah.
basically like prison. It's like prison is in space now. They send like
Yeah.
these like prisoners into like their own little
Mhm.
spaceship units, and that's just where they.
They send them out as like the pioneers of space.
Yeah.
There's like these like scapegoats, but I guess you call them space goats.
Space goats.
Space Ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Space Ghost.
Yeah.
Huh.
Also a really good film.
To just
Yeah.
explore new frontiers, basically.
Yeah.
But good shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? I feel like that was a
We wrap it there.
Yeah, we'll wrap
I
it
feel like that
there.
was a successful podcast. We got the riffs, we got the reels,
We got the
got
riffs,
we
Yeah,
got the
yeah, we got a
Jeffrey
little politics,
Epstein.
a little Epstein.
Where did the
Kanye
name
West.
Riffs and Reels come from? Like,
Him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
I
mean,
missed
we
that
wanted
on
it
that
to
bit.
be, you know, catching our own music and
Yeah.
I think at
movies.
first it was gonna be like the drunken
Riffs and
review,
Reels.
but then
Well, that was an
Riffs
idea
and
from
Reels.
Yeah.
long ago.
Yeah, Riffs
but
and
yeah,
Reels.
one day I was sitting there, I think I was at work or something. I was like,
yeah,
"What's a good name for a podcast about, you know, music, movie, riffs and reels?
Riffs
Yeah.
and
A little
Reels.
alliteration.
It's
Yeah,
gotta
know,
be.
it's a little
When you
catchy.
when you introduced it to us too, I remember you saying, you're like, dude, we got to start. We're like talking about start a podcast about movies and music. You go, if you do it, bro, you gotta call it Riffs and Reels. And both you and I were like, yeah,
That's it.
all right,
yeah, actually,
Yeah.
That's it.
that's
Yeah.
it, man.
That
Yeah.
sums it
It
up
checks
pretty
out.
well.
Hell
Well,
yeah, dude.
There we go. Episode 1 of
All right.
Riffs and Reels is under the book.
To the
That's it,
handful
everyone.
to the
Welcome
handful-
to Riffs and Reels. That's what we're all about.
to the handful you who checked it out. Thanks for
Thanks for
Sitting
tuning
through
in.
it.
Thanks for sitting through it.
sitting through our
For
nonsense
both of
and
you
our
listening,
bullshit. Yeah,
for both of you
we
listening.
appreciate
we
you.
love all two of you.
Yes.
All right, so I think that's it. We're signing
Arrivederci.
off.
peace out.
Farewell, everyone.
Shoshana.